Have you ever found yourself mesmerized by the sound of rhythmic drumming? Our minds can so easily become enthralled in a monotonous beat. Think of the relentless drum in Ravel's Bolero, or military or war drums. They demand our attention. Drumming is a primal tool, long used for our entertainment, but also as a form of communication. One sunny weekday afternoon, I had dirt biked up an old mining road. It gained a couple thousand feet from the valley floor towards one of the ridges of the Cascades. When the road gave out near the bottom of a high basin, I put on my backpack and started off cross-country towards the ridge. It was still heavily forested though. There was old growth and old cut fading in another 1,000 feet into those scraggly windblown ones near the top. When I was about 20 minutes in and about a half a mile up from me near the tree line, I heard this thumping sound. It was very odd, so I stopped to listen carefully to it. It sounded like a big solid branch was being whacked against a solid tree, and I use the term solid because the hits were powerful. One or both of the pieces of wood were hard and dry. The wood resonated and rang on impact, as dry wood will. I couldn't get over the power of it though. It sounded like someone was swinging a 4-inch post. Weird, but it gets even better. This someone sounded like they were trying to communicate. The thumping had a very complex and well-defined pattern to it. And here's the weirdest part. The thumping signal occasionally became very rapid, like what a drummer could do if they were noodling around with a stick. But I swear it sounded like it was a 4-inch post being treated as lightly as a drumstick. I listened for maybe 5 minutes, just fascinated with this sound, this code, and the power of it. Then the drumming suddenly stopped, and I kind of woke up to the fear of this unknown thing out there. I had my pistol, I had my bear spray, and my knife. I really only fear cougars, and even then I figure they'll have a really bad day trying to take me down. But still, the silence as I stared into the forest ahead seemed loaded, and I turned on my heels and I left the valley straight away. That place and the drumming, that whole experience gave me the chills. That high valley won't ever see my shadow again. I've read stories about some of the native peoples around here having valleys that they just won't go into, and I can now easily understand how these legends get started. Many believe that Bigfoot or Sasquatch communicate via a series of banging or thumping sounds, usually made by hitting a tree. Could be that other creatures in the woods or the forest are aware of this too. Some may even understand the meaning behind the thumping code, and that's why they get so very quiet, because they feel in immediate danger, or they know what might happen next. If you love true stories of strange creatures, ancient fairies, or the supernatural, those things which may not have a name but we know are out there in our world, please consider supporting me by becoming a patron. Check out the link in the notes below for more info. There is a story told in this area from back in the 70s about a young boy around the age of 10 who was on a fishing weekend with his parents. Well, they were camped up in a nice forest area, which is still popular with visitors today, and they fished in the river beside their camp. The family had visited the area several times before the incident, though never after it. One day, when the parents were preoccupied with the camp, a man approached the boy and asked if he'd like to go to his house for dinner. Every parent's nightmare, the boy went with him. So they walked to his house, which was not far from the campsite. The boy enjoyed a meal with the man. The two talked and supposedly lost track of time, and the boy ended up falling asleep, and he spent the night in the man's house. As it was, the night passed quietly and without incident. At the following morning, the man fed the boy breakfast, and the boy asked him to show him the way back to the campsite, as he was concerned that his parents might be worried about him. The man agreed, walked him back to the fishing spot, said goodbye, turned, and walked back into the forest. As the boy began to walk toward the campsite, his distraught parents, accompanied by a group of searchers, came bolting up to him, crying, frantically asking where he'd been, and looking over him for injuries. Grabbing the boy by the shoulders, his father said, "You have been missing for 3 days." "No," the boy said, "I was there only one night." They asked where he'd been, and he confidently turned and from the place that the man had left him, walked back toward the house, pointing, "It's just in there." But there was nothing. The house he had eaten dinner and slept the night and eaten breakfast with the mysterious man that very morning was gone. There was nothing there but forest. The kicker was that for the full 3 days that he had been missing, his parents and the others searching for the boy heard the constant sound of drumming in the forest. The volume and the rhythm varied, but the drumming never stopped while the boy was gone. When they found him, the drumming stopped. Well, that family never returned, but people still camp there in the exact same place. There is a real sense of something very old, perhaps ancient, dwelling in that forest. It meant the boy no harm. Perhaps it wanted some company or some conversation. He went with it willingly, wide-eyed and innocent, with no preconceptions, no desire to study or capture or harm it in any way. Could this be why so many sightings and encounters with strange creatures and beings are with children or young people? Because they are open-minded and pose no danger? The trouble is, we tend to disregard the stories of children as fantasy, but children grow up remembering their bizarre experience, but keeping it secret until they're ready to share, ready to say, "This happened to me," and seek out others who might understand. Like us at Encounters with Strangeness. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love reading them. And if you enjoyed this video, check out the one on screen too. And remember, it's a strange world. Keep your eyes and ears open, and please be kind. Cheerio!